So hello, everyone watching the recorded session and those of you in the room. My name is James Lomas. I am an Associate Course Director for Creative Presentation. I'm one of the instructors that teaches this class. I may not be your instructor. We have several sessions of this class that take place, several sections that happen simultaneously. Just to note that during our session tonight, we're only going to be talking about kind of hints on how to use the FSO platform, how to get the most out of some of the tools that we provide. If you do have any questions about the content, we're not going to be covering any of the course content. If you have questions about that, please direct those to the instructor for your section, okay? So what we have here is an overview of our platform. We call it FSO, Full Sail Online. If you haven't been on it yet, it's online.fullsail.edu. This is where you log in and will actually interact with your course content. This is where you will be submitting assignments and all those good things. You'll be doing your work here. You'll be interacting with your peers here, and you can also be interacting with your instructors as well. This is a platform that's been designed to be mobile friendly. So if you are using a mobile device, it has been optimized for that. So you can access those on mobile devices. You do want to use your credentials. So the same, your login and your password, the same thing that you would use to log into your email. And anyone, either campus or online, that's enrolled in our classes, this is where we do our work. So the campus students have the same experience in terms of how they are interacting with their coursework. This is going to be the same throughout the school. So once you log in, this is going to be your view. This is an overview. Now, mine looks slightly different than yours because we have an instructor view, but it's pretty much the same thing here. You're going to have a similar view as what we've got, and we'll go through each of the individual sections here so you know what you're looking at and you can be comfortable with the platform that you're working on. It's going to make your work a lot easier, not only this month, but as you move forward with your time at Full Sail. So this is a snapshot of week one. All the work that you're doing for the first week is going to be listed here. There's a couple of things to notice. First thing is each of the individual assignments has a weight. The weight is the amount of impact that this particular assignment is going to have on your grade. Now, you will notice some of these have 0% weight. That, of course, does not mean that you don't need to do these. That means that the assignments are not graded, but you will find that these are the assignments that you're going to use to be prepared to actually do your work later on. So your live sessions and recordings, your reading, we don't grade those per se. But we know when we get to the later work, such as the presentation discussion and the TED Talk analysis, whether you've done this stuff, because that's where you're gonna, those are gonna be giving you the kind of platform that you need, the information that you need to successfully do those assignments. So anything that's listed here, you are responsible for, but you're gonna notice that some of these have different weights. You'll notice here opening dates, published dates, and due dates. The published date is the day that the assignment is available to you. The due date is the date and the time that the assignment is due. Now, you'll notice a couple of these have individual dates that are different. They may have two dates for a particular assignment, and this is because discussion posts have an early date for the initial post, and then it has a later date for the second part of the assignment, which are going to be replies. The reason that early date is there is so that you'll have time to go through and read what your peers have written, and then you'll be able to write thoughtful replies to them after the initial posts have been made. But obviously, we've got to have the first post out there first before you can start making replies. Next thing to notice here are these notifications. Whenever you see these little icons up here with a red dot next to them, that means you've got some kind of message or feedback or notification. And we'll talk about each one individually. The first one is going to be feedback and messages. This is where you're going to see the majority of your activity. This is where you're going to be sending messages to your instructor. We'll be sending messages back to you. You will also see our feedback on particular assignments. Once we've taken an assignment and graded it, We usually provide written feedback or some kind of audio feedback as well. And you will see that feedback there. So when you see that little speech bubble with the red dot, that means you've got new feedback or messages. You're really going to want to keep an eye on that, because that's going to be the primary communication that you're going to have with an instructor. And this is how we'll contact you if there's some kind of issue. So be sure you're keeping an eye on those things. Before we move on, do we have any kind of questions about anything that we've talked about so far? If you do, please feel free to drop a question in the chat. Okay, I'll be checking in on that periodically. And like I said, if you do have a question, place it there. And if it's something we haven't covered yet, hang on just a bit just to make sure we don't get to it a little bit down the road. But that is your feedback and messages. Now you also have, next to this, notifications. Notifications, when an assignment has been graded or something like that, you will get a notification. So if I have, say, your professionalism assignment, the very first thing that you do, once your instructor grades that, you will get a notification back saying that this has been graded. The actual feedback and message will be read in the feedback and messages portion there. We do provide you ways to manage your account. What you're going to be doing here is clicking on this far right. Right now, for some of you, it's probably like a Twitter egg or kind of a blank avatar. If you click that and select account, what we would like for you to do is upload some type of photograph. It is an avatar, so it's going to be a headshot. There are actually people who approve these, so there's specific qualifications that you have to have. It has to be a photo. It can't be a caricature or some kind of avatar. It doesn't need to be a headshot, but this is really important for your instructors. It's really nice to be able to put faces and names together. It also helps you build a sense of community with your classmates. One of the things that can be hard about online education is that feeling of not being there in a class with people around you and with an instructor. And little things like this, this type of interaction can really help build that sense of community. So you click, once you click that, this is what you're going to see here. This is where you can change your photograph. You can also put some profile information there. That little bit, let people get to know you. What do you like? You also want to set your notifications and make sure they're set to on. This will give you email reminders and notifications when you get messages or things like that through the system. It'll just give you an extra reminder through your email account. This way you won't miss any kind of important messages. And another very important thing here is to set your time zones. I know everyone here is not in the Eastern time zone, so you're going to want to set this down here at the very bottom. Make sure you've got it set to the correct time zone. And while we're talking about that, time zones, all of our times on this system, all of our deadlines, things of that nature, are Eastern Standard Time. So if somebody says this is due at 11:59 p.m. Eastern, that is 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. It is not your local time. If you generally, if you make an appointment with the staff member, an instructor, and they tell you it's 2 o'clock, that's usually they're referring to Eastern Time. So you want to make sure you verify that if you make any kind of appointments to meet anyone. But when you hear someone at Full Sail reference a time, assume Eastern Time. Next thing we want you to take a look at under the account piece is your resources, especially Safari books. Your reading is going to take place using Safari books. Your reading assignments. There's also a link to this in your reading assignment itself, the 1.2. But this is where you can directly access Safari books by going to resources and then Safari books. The two books that you are using this month, one's called Resonate and one is called Slideology. There is a alternate online version of Resonate. It is, if you do a quick search for Resonate online version, it's a web-based version. Sometimes people like to interact with that one a little bit more. That's certainly something that's available to you. I do not believe there's an equivalent for Slideology, but for the Resonate book, there is that alternate online, and it's pretty easy to find with a quick Google search. Another thing here under resources that are going to be important is lynda.com. This is also now called LinkedIn Learning. We are not a PowerPoint course. We don't teach specific software. We don't teach you how to use Keynote or PowerPoint or presentation, any kind of specific presentation software, for a couple of reasons. One is just it's not a real good use of your time and money. You can learn the basics of PowerPoint very easily. And we're going to provide you some resources to do that if you've not used this kind of software before. One of which is Lynda. Lynda is a great resource that's available to you as a Full Sail student. It has really nice tutorials on virtually any software you can think of. So not only basic stuff like Microsoft Office or PowerPoint, it also has advanced software in your program, FL Studio. I use Lynda probably once a month. I have a professional certification that I upkeep, and I have to have continuing education courses. So it's a great benefit to being a Full Sail student and staff members. You have access to Lynda. If you tried to access this outside of our resources here, it costs like $1,000 to get access to it. I take guitar lessons on there. Really cool stuff. So even if you're not looking for specific training, that's a really nice resource to go and look around. You'll also be amazed if you have like a specific question about, I don't know, how do I insert an image into PowerPoint? Sometimes when you type that, by the time you type that to an instructor, and it may take a day or two of back and forth to get the correct answer. If you type that same thing into a search engine, you will find that answer very quickly. Technology-based questions, how do I do a specific thing in software? It's something that you will just get a quicker response. You'll get a quicker piece of turnaround, and a lot of times that's important because you're working towards a deadline. Do that quick search first, and you will generally find a lot of resources. YouTube, there's about 10,000 tutorials on how to perform specific functions, and they're usually quite good. So just keep that in mind. We're going to be talking about techniques. We're going to be talking about tools that you can use that work regardless of the specific software. We're not going to be focusing on the how-to with the software. We're going to be focusing more on higher level concepts. It's a better use of your time and certainly a better use of the money that you're paying. This is a quick look at what Lynda looks like. Again, you can find a lot of stuff. Photoshop, if you're in DAD, or if you're in recording arts and you want to get a jump on some of that software you think you'll be using later on, you'll find tutorials here. You'll find soft skills like time management. You'll find, again, you can find instrument tutorials. There's a lot of stuff here. I take courses on project management, again, my continuing education. So there's a lot of really cool stuff. And so it's a great resource to take advantage of while you're enrolled. Any questions on that while we are paused here for a second? All right. We'll keep moving on. I want to get you guys out of here as soon as we can. I know you're busy in your first week. Excited to get started. So let's keep going on here. All right. To the left side of your FSO platform, you will see something called announcements. Announcements work a little bit differently than, say, messages. These are things that if an instructor wants to just send out a quick message to everyone, a quick reminder, you will see these things in announcements. A lot of times you'll find links to the specific, like we'll have a link that we want to send out to a video that we reference in a lecture. A lot of times you will find those things in announcements. So make sure that you're checking these as well. If you do have a question, I saw a hand up there. If you have a question, drop those in the chat box for me if you don't mind. Do you get to keep Linda after you graduate? I believe, and I will double check and make sure this gets back out. I believe you keep access to Linda for 1 year, but I will verify that, and I will make sure that you get that information. Okay. Very cool. So announcements, another way that we communicate to classes. These are not specific messages to you. These are going to be general messages to the entire class. So instead of kind of sending out a blast email or something like that, we can make announcements here. These are class-wide announcements about go-to times, reminders about assignment due dates, those kinds of things. Those will wind up in your announcements. Messages. Now, messages are private. Think of these as like email. These are private messages that come back and forth. You will see these. You will get notifications of these up here in the little box here. But if you need to send a direct message, say to your instructor, someone individually, you can use this messages feature here. All right, our lectures. At least once a week, your instructor is going to host an online go-to session, much like this. These are really important. A couple of instructors may do multiple ones during the week. These are kind of like your live classroom lectures. Now, I know all the time you're not able to attend these, but we do highly recommend that you make a live session if you can. If not, it's okay. They're recorded so that you can view them later. But it's a great way to kind of interact with your classmates, interact with your instructor. This is where you're going to be getting course content. These aren't simply going to be a rehash of what's in the reading. A lot of times there's going to be information given there that's not covered elsewhere, or it's going to be a way that we can explain assignments. Be sure you are checking the live lectures out, or at least the recordings, before you attempt your major assignments for the week. Most of the instructors here are going to take those things, go through them very in a lot of detail, very specifically, talking about the requirements, going through and showing examples from previous work. So they are really going to be vital for your success. Okay. I get asked a lot, like, what's the number one way, or what's the best secret to succeeding? The lectures, interacting with them. It's an opportunity to ask questions. And again, if you're not able to attend those things live, watching the recordings and really paying attention, because there's going to be a lot of information there that's going to help you succeed. Your recordings, I'm going to show you that in just a second, where they're available. The same place that you would register for a live session, the 1.1 assignment each week. This is where you're going to have the ability to register for the live session. And then soon after those sessions end, at least within 1 day, but generally not that long after, I try to get mine up within an hour or two of them ending. Sometimes it may take until the next morning, just depending on speeds and file sizes and things like that. But you will find those on that same assignment each week under the go-to training recordings here at the bottom. So there will be an embedded video. Most instructors also will send out some kind of announcement. The recordings are going to be available the entire month. So they'll be there the entire time. Okay. Now, most of the sessions are going to be something around 1.5, 2 hours, something like that. I usually try to keep my sessions to an hour and a half. That's why I do a second session later in the week. But most of them are going to be in that 1.5 to 2 hour ranges, okay? Again, we try to schedule these at times that are convenient for everyone. It's impossible, though, with time zones and with work schedules and things like that. So if you don't, do make sure that you are checking out those recordings. Every instructor has what we call a catalog, which are going to be all of our sessions that are scheduled for the month. You will find those each week. I would encourage you to register for all of the sessions that you can. That way you'll get reminders of them. Even if you aren't able to make them, you'll at least get the reminder. So if it turns out that you can make the session, you won't forget about it, and you'll get that email reminder close to it. Okay, again, just to highlight this, once a recording is available, underneath this banner that says Go to Recordings, when you initially sign up for a live session, there will be nothing here. But once the recording's available, they're going to be embedded right here at the bottom of that page. Now let's talk about actually submitting assignments. Sometimes this can get a little tricky. You will have certain assignments that require some kind of document, right? You're completing a written document or you're completing a presentation. There's going to be some kind of file. So when you see something here that says completion and has an upload files here, you're going to be placing a file there. You can't place a link in that box and have it complete the assignment. This does two things. First of all, it uploads the assignment to us, and it will also close it out and show that you have completed it. A couple things to keep in mind. If you have some kind of website, you have a link to a Spark, Adobe Spark, which is a piece of software you'll be using. You have a link to submit. If it is a file completion assignment, you can take that link, paste it into a document, create that document, and then turn the document in with the link inside. That's an easy way to return those kind of assignments in. One of the reasons that you would want to do this is if you have a large file. The file maximum is 500 megabytes. Hit or miss, I would say within 100 megs either way. But don't take any chances. If you've got a really large, say, video file, you could put this up on, say, YouTube. You can put this up on a streaming service like Vimeo, and then you turn in the link to that file. If you try to upload, say, a video file that's 1 gig, you're not going to be successful. It's going to error out, and it won't actually complete the upload. So do make sure you're paying attention to your file sizes. And if you do have a link to submit, turn those documents in with the link inside. We also have file naming conventions, something we talked about in orientation, but we're going to go over it here again. This is going to be the naming convention for a file that you're going to use throughout your time at FSO. Unless you hear something different from your instructor, this is the correct way to name a file. Last name, first name, assignment name. And you'd be surprised at how many times we get last name underscore first name underscore. Not that. That's the example. So if Kristen Heaney is Heaney underscore Kristen underscore 1.4 underscore TED Talk assignment, something like that, just to make sure that we know whose file it is. Even though it's being submitted, it makes it much easier for your instructors to track that if they've got the file name identified. That way nothing gets lost, nothing, you get credit for everything that you've done, and it's much easier for everyone involved. So just make sure you're using that correct file naming convention. Okay. Also on the left here, you will see a little section that says About. A couple things you can find here, a couple of key things. First is just a description of the course, but also you're going to find a couple of important downloads. The course syllabus is here. So if you've been looking for the course syllabus and you aren't quite sure where it's at, it's here under the downloads. There's some bonus material. There's some things that we aren't able to necessarily cover in our course that our instructors have found interesting that we think you will get use out of. So we leave those there in the bonus material. But most importantly, I want to draw your attention to the FSO support card. This is where you can find all the contact information for our technical support team. FSO support is a fantastic resource for you. If you have any kind of technical problem, I can't upload my file. I'm having difficulty logging on. Anything like that, anything that's a computer-related problem, you can either give them a call, 877-437-6349. You can go to the online help. and there's also an email. This is available 7 days a week. They are there from 8 to 2 in the morning. There may be some different hours on holidays and things like that, but there is someone available 7 days a week until 2 a.m. If you're having any kind of problem, even if you're thinking you're going to get it fixed, or maybe you can fix it yourself, give them a call. Maybe it's a system-wide thing, and you can find out. If nothing else, they're going to be able to log the problem that you're having, and they can let your instructor know you are having a specific technical issue that you're trying to get addressed. That makes it much easier for us. We can work with you if we know you have an open technical issue that you're working to get resolved. Okay. Now, don't contact them for questions about assignments, things like that. You obviously want to contact your instructor for content questions, but anything that's technical related, technology related, computer related, I can't get my machine to boot up, whatever it is. Download that support card. Make sure you've got an offline copy of all the numbers here that you need. You can't log into your email. You have some basic software questions about how to save a file or export it, something like that. They can definitely help you out. Personally, I find phone to be the easiest way and the quickest way to get problems resolved. But either one of these, the online help, there's a lot of self-help resources there. You can kind of diagnose a problem if you are pretty tech savvy, or you email them directly and they will get back to you. All right. There's also here your Full Sail support team, academic advising, the business office, financial aid, all of these, all the contact information here is also on this card. So make sure you've got a copy of this, and they will be able to, you'll always know who to get in touch with those kinds of questions. All right. Next place we want to direct your attention is what's called One Full Sail. This is kind of like your home for your time here at Full Sail. This is where you're going to be able to access news, resources, these kinds of things. This is our home base for all faculty and staff. It is also mobile friendly, so you can access this through your mobile device, one.fullsail.edu. You guys will be picking student log on as opposed to staff. If you try to log in with your credentials using staff, it will not work. So you're going to pick student log on. Once you do, you will get a page that looks a lot like this. It is divided into a couple of different sections. We've got stories. So these are things that are coming up or things that are happening on campus. I tell people all the time, check this out. There's resources here. There are announcements for events, many of which are available to you online students for streaming. We may have guests on campus. We may have Hall of Fame alumni coming to give a talk. Any of this stuff, anything that's available for you as an online student, you'll have the resources to find it here. The stuff happens all throughout the week, but you got to kind of keep up with it. There's a lot of things that go on. So this is a great place. I would check this once a week, at least, at the very least, if not more often than that. Events are listed here as well. And this is also where you can do a couple of searches for things like support and additional resources. One of those resources is going to be what we call our peer tutoring. It is a great resource that's available to you. If you have any kind of issues with the class, there's a tutor that's available for CRP. Later on, when you get into different classes, there's tutors available for all the Gen Ed courses. If you're having issues with things, you can sign up here for a tutor. They have different kinds of events. They've got open events that'll happen where they will be available online through things like Discord. They will have the ability for you to make an appointment, for you to call, lots of cool stuff. But they are always available. They have open door peer tutoring Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and then Saturday, 10 to 2. And that's always available via Discord. So if you're a Discord user, this is a thing. Somebody asked, how do you register for online events? They will have a registration link in the event itself. So in the announcement of the event, there would generally be some type of registration link. Another thing we'd like to talk about, the college level writing standards. Sometimes this frightens people more than actually talking. A lot of people are scared of the public speaking aspect of our course. We do have some writing that's required as well. One of the resources that's available to you is our Writing Center. You could reach them at writingcenter@fullsail.com, or there's a phone number, 407-679-0100. That's the main Full Sail number, and the extension is 2340. You can also find them on Full Sail One. Again, Writing Center, available by appointment. They will work with you on how to write in a professional manner. A couple of little tips. When you're writing, you want to write as if you are working at that dream job that you're all headed for. You want to write your emails. You want to write your communications in a professional manner. So that means no emojis, no, when you write the word you, you're going to write out YOU and not a lowercase u. But if you have, some issues, maybe you haven't been in school for a while, or maybe just writing's not your strong suit, you can come to the Writing Center. It's a great resource available to all of you. But it is by appointment, and you can make your appointment through Full Sail One. Look up the Full Sail Writing Center, and that'll take you to this information page where you can make the appointments that you need. And once you click Writing Center here, this is the appointment mechanism. This is where you can go in and make the appointments that you need. They call this the Co-Pilot Center. That's where your tutoring and your Writing Center resources are going to be available. So if you come into Full Sail One and you click support and look up Co-Pilot Center, that's probably the best way to search for any kind of academic resources that you are looking for. Okay, so that is our evening. That is what we wanted to cover in terms of the Full Sail online platform. I will pause for a minute, see if you have any questions about what we talked about. Again, if you have specific questions about content, you're going to want to address those to your instructor, but just to see if you have any other questions about what we've been over tonight. If you don't, I'll say good night to you. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found that useful. Again, these are things that you'll be able to use not only in our class, but going forward. Once you get more comfortable with the system, it can make the experience that much more comfortable for you. You're very welcome. You guys have a good evening. All right, so I'm going to end the recording here, and then I'll see if you have additional questions. I'll hang out in the room for a few minutes.